But our official guest is someone I had the honor of meeting a few months ago, and it was kind of interesting how the whole thing transpired. A friend of mine had asked me if I could go check out this business and see if I could help them kind of with their marketing and see what they were doing and so forth. And when he told me originally what it was about, I was a little nervous about it because when I was in high school, I had a very traumatic thing happen at our high school that had to do with guns and gun safety. So as much of a proponent I am for the Second Amendment, and I believe everyone should have the right to bear arms, I had something that had kind of taken that away from me a little bit, and I'd always been a little scared around guns. But I decided to go out and check out this business and meet Clint Dooley and see what BIA is about. And I can share with you that in talking with him and learning about guns and learning about gun safety and keeping my family safe, that just recently, as a matter of fact, it was yesterday, Clint had me over at BIA and has taught me how to shoot. And I believe it was on the fourth shot, he had me execute what is called a
hostage shot.
And Clint actually stood in front of me and had me take the shot, and I believe I nailed the target right in the eyeball.
Right between the eyes, actually.
So welcome to Clint Dooley. As I mentioned, he is an ex-Green Beret in the Special Services. And first of all, before we even get started, Clint, thank you for your service, for keeping our country the great country that it is, and giving us the freedom and the opportunity to even talk about guy stuff on a daily basis. Tell us a little bit about BIA Training Solutions, what it was that kind of got you to start this business, and your passion about safety and making sure that people are safe in their homes.
Well, first off, let me thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be back in the Tulsa area. And BIA stands for Brave Independent Americans. We are a one-of-a-kind training solution focused on creating a safer tomorrow, one person at a time. Now, you mentioned earlier that it was something that I brought to Tulsa. It actually wasn't anything I brought to Tulsa. I came home after being gone for about 11 years, and I got integrated out at the United States Shooting Academy, one of the best facilities in the country. But out there, I started meeting more and more people that were coming out there or going everywhere for home protection, self-protection. And I just didn't agree with the way that we were unable to give the average everyday person what they needed for their day-to-day lives. We were teaching them police tactics and military tactics. And I know those things are really, hot right now, but it's not what the average everyday person needs. So I decided to pull back from it and just kind of introduce myself to the average everyday person. And what I found is people like yourself, Bill. And I've seen the effect over and over again. I had to reteach myself everything so I could teach it to people like yourself. And I had to create a more inviting atmosphere in which to teach it in. And we have that right there in Jinx.
And one of the things that I think is so different that people might not expect is the facility itself and how you can engage and teach people in a real life environment, not just in a shooting range, but you can really show them how to protect themselves in a 360-degree environment because of the training mechanisms that you use, because of the guns, and because of the special ammunition. Tell us a little bit about the philosophy on that, what that is that you use, because they are real guns. And in many ways, it is real ammunition, just without the lethal tip.
Well, the way we're able to do that is with the FX marking cartridge. Instead, it's something I stumbled across in training when I was in Special Forces, and I just figured that this marking cartridge was known by everybody. And when I came out, I started looking at what we were able to do in a 360 environment for our clients, and using live ammunition, you really can't do much, and there's not a lot of places that offer 360 ballistically sound structures to do firearms training. And you can bet that you can't shoot against a living, breathing person in a training environment with live ammo. But with these, you can. And I found that most of my experience that led me up to going to Afghanistan actually came from some of the simulated training environments that the Q course in Fort Bragg created for us. Now, the reason why the 360 environment is so important is because you need to train like you're going to fight. And this static kind of, you're in front of me, I'm standing still, we're just going to shoot at each other until one of us goes down, is not the way it happens. There's always a struggle, there's always movement going on, and it's never, ever, ever like you practiced it on a flat range. There's always that variable that you didn't plan for, like the guy came up and hit you with a wrench. And that's when you're starting to go for your gun. That's when you're trying to defend you and your family. You got kids on either arm of you as you're trying to pull them back and get them behind you as you get the gun out. That's the reason why we need a more tailored environment for the average everyday person. And we do that in a number of different ways, which you've seen most of them, and I've shown you some of our training videos. But you got to admit, there's not a lot of places out there that look like BIA and feel like BIA. I mean, if you look at our videos, you'll see that firsthand.
Now, one of the things that I think people would find extremely interesting, and it's one of the things that I was just kind of blown away about, is the facility itself. How you can actually take your big facility and almost turn it into the blueprint of someone's house, and you can virtually train them in the same setup rooms, just like their bedrooms are set up, their hallways and so forth like that, to where when they walk into your facility, it's training in an environment that will be so similar to their home.
Exactly. Well, we didn't have a big structure. We have a 6,000 square foot structure, and I think 2/3 of that are in our back training area. And as you've seen inside of it, I created all the movable wall concepts because each scenario is going to be different, and each client that comes in there is going to need different things. So if we need a structure, then we have the walls, and we can create the tactical problems, I guess you will, of their home. And then we can push the walls aside and have a big open space like you would a flat range, or we can have we can make it like a simulated parking lot for women's only classes. But then we can also break down our equipment and take it to your home and use it inside your house, and it's not gonna hurt anything. And it's actually, what better way to prepare yourself for a home intruder other than getting the skills you need at our facility and then transferring those skills back to your home and bringing the scenario full circle to where you're like, you know what, I think I got this now, because this is not the first time that I've had a gun pointed at me. This is not the first time that I've had to work with my family to fend off an intruder. And that's the kind of confidence that especially the dad and the mom need going to bed at night. They don't need to have that what if monster keeping them up at night. Like, what would I do if this happened? We answered the what ifs.
We are going to have more with Clint Dooley and keeping your house, your family safe. If you have any questions, give us a call, 460-KRMG, or text us at 95920. It's The Man Show. All right, we are chilling, relaxing, and enjoying this great day in Tulsa here in the Man Cave on the KRMG Man Show, in conjunction with Men of Vision. If you're looking for the finer and funner things in life, check out our website at menovision.co or our Facebook page at Men of Vision and Men of Vision Tulsa. Also, everything that you want to know about Men of Vision, you can find on krmg.com as well. We are back with our special guest again. Ex-Green Beret, has served multiple tours, I believe, for our country, and the owner of BIA Training Solutions, Mr. Clint Dooley. In our last segment, we were talking a little bit about the facilities, the philosophy, and so forth like that, and on gun safety and protection and so forth. But it's really not just about the guy learning about it. It's about training the entire family.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things, I guess, that I've always been a little bit trepidatious or fearful of, is not only making sure that I know how to use it, but if I'm not at home, that my wife feels safe about it, or if by chance our daughter stumbles across the gun, that she knows how to use it as well, or knows the safety precautions of what. So talk to us a little bit about how the philosophy is not only just training the breadwinner or the guy of the house,
right,
but training the whole family.
Well, that's what usually the husband will be the one that comes into the facility first, because most guys are the gun owners of their home, and he'll ask a few questions and I'll show him around, and then he'll train with me probably once, and that's about as much as he needs to. And most times, often than not, they always say, Clint, I have got to get my wife in here. This is exactly what I've been looking for her. You have the right facility, the right product, and the right personality, and I want you to train my wife. Well, then the wife will come in, and then after the wife is, come in once or twice, then she's like, well, we got to get the kids in here, and we need to have a completed family plan. And that's the beauty part of what I've done. Instead of that's kind of how we structured the business for the first 3 months we were open, and then we closed down just to restructure it again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build complete family protection packages. I'm not interested in working with one person from the family. I'm more interested in working with an entire family and giving them a 30-day span to say, listen, you own me for 30 days, so I'm going to come to your home. I'm going to bring you to the business. And we're at the facility. We're going to train you at my site and live fire ranges, and then we're going to go back to your home, complete the plan, and you guys can now not think, but know that your life's been changed for the better, and it'll bring you guys all closer. And for example, a younger adult, we're going to go over more awareness classes. Seeing a situation before it even happens, so they can get around it. A wife, maybe she's not a gun person. That's fine. I don't ever force guns into people's hands. That is not my philosophy when it comes to it. But if I will show her more of the self-defense moves and maybe some other less than lethal things that she can carry, like improvised weapons. And then dad, a lot of the weight of the average family falls on dad's shoulders. If he will probably have a weapon of some sorts. But going back to what you were saying earlier, a lot of people are kind of, you can see the reflection in their children as far as their comfort level with guns. So if I meet I've talked to people all the time, and they're like, oh, my daughter, just like I'm sure you would talk about yours, and my daughter's so smart, she's she just gets stuff at such a fast level, blah blah blah. And then you mention gun, and you're like, whoa, she's not ready for that. It's not that she's not ready for it, it's that you're not comfortable with guns, thus you cannot even begin to fathom how she would understand guns. But once you educate the parent, then they usually will lower their guard and say, listen, this is something that my child needs to know, because I am going to own this gun, and I don't want them to go looking for the answers in my sock drawer. I want to bring them to this facility where it's safe and it's done this way, and they learn it right from somebody who knows. And I take that as the ultimate sign of, hey, Clint, I'm trusting you with my family, so I'm not going to let the person down.
And when I was at your facility yesterday, you shared with me a little bit about a story that really kind of blew me away, and I was glad to hear it. And it was from a lady that you trained very recently, and I think it would do our listeners a lot of good to kind of hear that story and how it's helped this lady kind of deal with her day-to-day as well.
Okay. Well, I took some of the specifics out of this response letter I got the other day just to protect the individual. And I will just go ahead and read it now. Dear BIA, I wanted to say thank you so much for the training experience you provided me the other day. I finally feel like I have some sort of control over my situation. I have never felt this way before. It is as Clint has given me a piece of my old self back, and I can't tell you how much that means. I passed my ex-husband in the car shortly after my visit to BIA, and my first reaction was to drive back to my house and hide in fear, as I always would have, but I didn't. I stayed vigilant, and I continued on with my errands. I heard Clint's voice in my head the whole time telling me to stay relaxed, what my options were, and where to hit and or shoot if forced to. I don't know what the future will bring with it, but your training may have well saved my life. Sincerely, my student.
And I think that's what it's all about, is not only making sure that people know about gun safety, the correct way to use it and so forth, but that feeling of keeping it safe. And just want to go back a little bit, because I know we talked about it very briefly at the beginning, but the ammunition that you use and so forth in that training, especially with some of the ladies that aren't necessarily familiarized with guns, I think it's important to kind of talk about those bullets, what they do, and just how, even if you're a little bit intimidated by a gun, how safe it is to train with that.
Well, we're revamping our website right now, but if they go to BIAtrainingsolutions.com, again, that's BIAtrainingsolutions.com, and you scroll down past the videos, you will see an actual picture of the guns that we use and the bullets there, and descriptions located to the right of it. But for everybody who's out there in radio land right now, I'll just tell you that it's a brass casing with a primer, which is pretty standard on any bullet. They didn't put the powder in the casing, and instead they crimped the casing about halfway up and replaced it with a plastic sabot. Now, all the sabot does is it acts kind of like the gunpowder would, where it catches the small gases emitted by the primer, and then it forces it to kind of pop the paint capsule through the barrel at 400 feet per second. Well, that is pretty good for what we're going to use it for. It'll hold a 6-inch group at about 30 feet, and it will leave bumps, scrapes, and bruises if it hits bare skin. That's why I don't throw people right into the lion's den, so to say. I build them up from the ground up, and I say, guys, if you're not comfortable with holding a gun, then we don't need to go force on force today. We need to get you comfortable with the gun. So I don't force, like I said, with our organization, we don't sell guns, and we don't put guns in people's hands. We just get the people that are thinking about owning a gun and or already own a gun the best possible training so they can carry responsibly out in public around your family and mine.
Now, what would you say to the guy that is the ultra,
Macho man.
I want to go shoot my gun. I want to go out and, reel off as many rounds as I can and wants to have that thrill, excitement, and so forth like that.
I say do it. I say absolutely go do it. I mean, there's those industries are already, well existing and they're robust. But I'm going to talk to that guy right now because I know he's out there. So let's say that you bought a gun a year ago, and since then you've probably capped off about 5,000 rounds, and you're getting really good at the standing and shooting and reloading, and maybe a little bit of movement here and there. But deep down that you're still wondering if you're going to have what it takes when it counts. You don't know what it's going to be like under stress. You don't know what it's going to be like when things are constantly changing and there's people moving around and bullets are going both ways. Well, that's what this product was designed to do. It was designed to do that for the military, and it was up to about 3 years ago exclusively used for special operations and high-end police force units. And 3 years ago, they said, well, we're going to open this up to the civilian market. So it's not that, this product's been out forever and it just hasn't, it hasn't performed. It's that you people don't know about it. And as soon as I realized that, hey, if we could just keep all the live fire out at the existing ranges, then we can actually bring firearms training in town. I operate in between a 24-hour gym and a indoor kids soccer arena. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I keep all the live fire stuff separate. It's somewhere else. I don't allow real bullets in my facility because we offer something truly unique and only really exclusively here in Tulsa. I hope to get the idea outside of Tulsa someday, but right now it's all about taking care of the home front first.
We've talked a lot about the home front and so forth like that, but a lot of people might not realize that this is something that could always be used in the business community as well, protecting different kinds of businesses and so forth
absolutely.
that, training all your employees on gun safety, and I know that you're working with some local businesses right
absolutely.
now.
And I won't go into who I'm working with right now, but I'm working with some large, about anywhere between, our ideal client is anywhere between 30 employees and below. And what we do is we build them a protection plan around the staff. We get them their concealed carries. So if you had a medical facility, we'd get all the doctors their concealed carries. We'd offer it to the technicians, but since technicians and nurses are usually a younger caliber, then what we would do is we would screen them for maturity. And if they're mature enough, then we would make sure that they had their concealed carry and the training in how to use a gun as well. But the big thing is just training them how to work together as a team. You don't need a gun to get out of most situations. You only need a gun is if they have a gun. That's when you absolutely need a gun. That's the only thing that's going to trump their firearm. So
we're going to have Clint back here in just a few minutes. We're also going to talk about beers and gear, some of our favorite things that makes us all men, right here in the Man Cave on the KRMG Man Show.